All right, sounds good. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone here in the Rocket Pool community. Um, my name's Ken, and I get to host yet again another Rocket Pool community call here. And I'm very excited that today we're going to be joined by Moritz, who is with Fluidkey as our special guest. And then a little bit later on, Langers is going to come to talk about some of the latest developments in Rocket Pool and go through some of the highlights over the biweekly that was just launched today. And if you're hearing this right in the beginning too, I understand Jasper has sent out his big tweet thread that he's been working on with everything Rocket Pool, Node Set, Saturn Zero. I haven't had a chance yet to read it. It just came out, but wanted to give a shout out to Jasper to have everyone go take a look at that. But let's start off here with Fluidkey. Moritz, good day to you.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I remember seeing this coming up on the agenda here, and I was very interested to learn a little bit more about Fluidkey. Would you mind introducing what Fluidkey is?
Yeah, happy to do so. So, hi everyone. I'm Moritz. I'm the co-founder of Fluidkey. Fluidkey is basically a way to get better privacy on chain. So the idea is basically, and the problem we were initially solving, which was a problem we had also personally, is that it becomes really difficult to manage different addresses if you want to have some privacy. So either you have a wallet with like one or very few addresses, and then you kind of tie together lots of different things you're doing. And so anybody sending you funds or receiving funds from you would basically be able to see all of your assets, who else, paid you, and so on and so forth. And on the other side of that, there are, privacy solutions that require you to do a lot of work in terms of, moving money into another shielded pool and then waiting for the funds to be there for a while and then taking them out again and so on and so forth. And so we basically wanted to build something that just gives you better default privacy without requiring anything else from the user side. And so that's what Fluidkey really is. The way it works is that instead of having just one address, you basically have a new address generated for you on every transaction. Meaning that if I give you my Fluidkey ENS, which is kind of the static identifier that every user has, then you would put it in a wallet, into a wallet, and then it would resolve a new address every time it's basically put into any wallet or anything like that. So happy to also share my screen to kind of show you how it works. But at a high level, that's really what Fluidkey is about, and it's fully self-custodial. And the idea is to just give better privacy options to users on EVM chains.
Yeah, if you'd like to, feel free to share your screen. We do record it for YouTube, and the recording is audio only. So as you share, maybe also just give a little bit of audio description for it. Sure. But yeah, maybe walk us through how something like this would work. And one of my other follow-up questions is, how does it benefit those in the Rocket Pool community?
Awesome. So I'm just seeing I don't have my settings enabled to share my screen. So I'll just walk you through it over voice. And if you want to check it out, you can just go to fluidkey.com and kind of try it out. It's open access. So the way really it works is that every Fluidkey user gets an ENS. So my ENS, for example, is moritz.fkey.eth. And if you, for example, type it into Etherscan and look at the resolved address, what you'll see is that every time you refresh the page, a new address is generated. And that address is actually fully self-custodial. So Fluidkey doesn't have access to your spending keys or anything, but these addresses can be generated on your behalf without you having to do anything every time someone wants to pay you. And so what that means is that now if can you send me a payment and then somebody else in this call sends me another payment, they would land in two totally separate, on-chain addresses that aren't linked to me in any way if you look at Etherscan or any other block explorer or anything like that. And so that's kind of the power of Fluidkey in general. Now, how does this tie into Rocket Pool as well is that we started kind of with this concept, and what we saw is that a lot of our users basically use Fluidkey to receive payments from third parties, right? So one big use case is, for example, freelancers getting paid on chain and not wanting to, disclose who else pays them, how much they earn every month, and so on and so forth. And so once you start getting a lot of payments, I think the question is as well, like, how do you also store your assets, right? And keep your assets private. And the best way to do that is to, keep them in Fluidkey and not move them to one central address somewhere, right? Because then you basically maintain the same type of privacy. And so then the great thing with liquid staking and Rocket Pool is that we're now enabling users in one click to convert their ETH into Rocket Pool ETH with exactly the same, privacy that you would get from anything else on Fluidkey. Because in the end, you just can convert ETH into Rocket Pool ETH. In one click. And we try to also make this something that's very easy to digest, so you can see exactly how long it would take you to basically recover transaction fees and so on, and basically have a profitable Rocket Pool ETH kind of trade, and also seeing just in general how much you can earn per year on staking your ETH with Rocket Pool. So that's kind of the idea there, that's how it works with Fluidkey.
And then a couple other follow-up questions. Are there any risks to using Fluidkey? Is it all managed via smart contracts, or does it require a front end? What type of risks are incurred?
Yeah, so all of the core crypto of Fluidkey is fully open source. So you can also, if you go to fluidkey.com and our docs, you can find links to all of the core crypto. We are using safe smart accounts under the hood, so they're also pretty battle tested, I would say. Type of smart accounts that basically enables us to do things also like gas sponsorship. So another thing I didn't mention is that you can actually pay fees in Rocket Pool ETH inside of Fluidkey. So instead of, if you receive Rocket Pool ETH, you don't need to also fund your wallet with ETH to be able to move funds, and you can just pay your fees in rETH directly. And so I mean, as with any self-custodial wallet, there are risks if you don't manage your private keys properly, or if you obviously send funds to the wrong address and so on and so forth. But we are audited. We were audited in May by DDoB. And we're built on technologies that are, I think, quite battle tested from the smart account side to ENS resolution, which is also used by it's the same contracts, for example, Base and Coinbase use on their base.eth, for example, off-chain resolution. So that's I think a top level kind of overview of this.
Perfect. And then are there any costs incurred, or how does Fluidkey receive income to support itself?
Yeah. So right now our goal is really to just spread the word and grow our user base. So the only cost you will basically incur is gas fees, which is very minimal, especially on L2s. So we launched this earn feature with Rocket Pool on Base first, and so there, doing a transaction costs less than 1 cent right now. So it's really, really cheap. In the future, we might introduce fees for some premium kind of features and so on. But right now, really, the goal is to just also showcase what is possible, and the way, really showcase a way to really easily get better privacy. And so that's the goal. And so there are no fees right now.
Okay. And you mentioned that we could use Fluidkey to receive crypto payments anonymously, right? Or at least send it to an address. Yep. And the person who I share that send to address won't be able to see any of my other assets. But is it possible to send anonymously, or is it only receive anonymously?
Well, so I guess if you receive the funds anonymously first, then you also have more privacy when you send those funds, right? Because instead of now sending everything from one address that has, all of your assets and maybe your ENS tied to it and so on and so forth, you would now have, say, hundreds of different addresses with, some funds in it. And then inside of Fluidkey, you can decide actually which funds you want to use to send to someone, right? So say you receive funds from your employer on one side, and then maybe some other personal funds on the other side. Then you can label these funds as well inside of Fluidkey and very easily decide where to send funds out of. So you can say, okay, I want to send out funds from, the payment I received from my employer this time. And so you really basically decide what you reveal to whoever you send funds to.
Okay. And then two other questions here. Do you offer like a testnet version of it, like on Sepulveda or one of the other testnets that folks can play around with it before using mainnet or L2 funds?
Yes. So when you basically onboard to Fluidkey, what you can do is go to the top right button, the settings button, and then you'll see different chains we're on. So we're currently on 5 different mainnets and one testnet, which is Sepolia. So you just go to advanced, and then you'll see Sepolia there. And so you can use test Fluidkey on Sepolia and kind of get a feel for it there.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. And then as we kind of come to the end of the questions here, are there any other things about Fluidkey that you haven't covered yet that you want to let the Rocket Pool community know?
Yeah, sure. So one thing we're quite excited about, or actually 2 things. One thing is that soon users will also be able to directly on and off ramp funds to Fluidkey. So basically sending and receiving payments to bank accounts with Fluidkey. I don't know if you've heard of Bridge.xyz, but they're also our partners on this feature, and they basically will enable you to basically on-ramp funds very easily to Fluidkey, and there you get the same privacy benefits of sending funds to a new address every time you on-ramp funds. And going hand in hand with that, actually, the other feature I'm quite excited about that is a few weeks out is that you will then be able as well to borrow USDC or basically dollars in the end against your Rocket Pool ETH to keep the Rocket Pool ETH upside and at the same time, cover expenses in the short term. So this all is working based on, Aave lending, the Aave lending protocol, and then basically this bridge integration where funds can be sent directly also to a bank account or stay on chain depending on what you decide. So I think these are 2 really exciting features we're looking forward to releasing, and we're also super happy to always get feedback and questions from our users. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have any feature ideas that you think we should implement.
Yeah, let me just ask a follow-up question on the thing you mentioned, because I think that was what I was reading in the pre-show notes that I was very interested in. So my understanding in the near future, it's possible to use Fluidkey to send some asset like rETH and then borrow against it and have the USDC show up as dollars in a bank account, just all on chain without having to go to the SEX exchange and then link to my bank account. It can just go directly from Fluidkey to my bank account?
That's exactly right. So you will be able to do this in pretty much one click. Obviously, because it touches banking, initially you will have to KYC with our partner Bridge. It takes 5 minutes, and it's really just base information that I think everyone is used to with other kind of on and off ramps. But after that, every time you want to move money off chain and basically just borrow against your rETH, you can do that in one click. And that enables you to basically still keep the upside on rETH, while spending USDC, and also optimize taxable events depending on, of course, your specific jurisdiction and so on and so forth. But that's the idea behind this feature. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. And do you have a crystal ball or an ETA as to when that might be? And will that also support individuals that are in U.S. jurisdictions, or will that be precluded?
Mm-hmm. So the goal is definitely to also enable US based users to access this feature. We will probably soft launch this next month. Most likely first as kind of almost a separate kind of site from Fluidkey, from the main app, just because it enables everyone to test this out as a standalone as well. And then the goal is to also, of course, make this a core feature of Fluidkey. But so yeah, you should, if you follow Fluidkey on either Twitter or Farcaster, we'll make sure to inform you as soon as it's out.
Yeah, perfect. And Moritz, if folks want to learn more or ask more detailed questions, how can they get a hold of you, or what's the best way to get help or support on this?
Perfect. So so our accounts on Twitter and Farcaster are at Fluidkey, so the same way our brand is spelled. And then I am also sometimes on Discord. I'm not too active on Discord, so it might take a bit longer to get back. But please feel free to reach out. I'll check my DMs frequently, and otherwise I'm also on Telegram at Moritz_Fluidkey. And on Farcaster, just at Moritz.
Oh, perfect. And last question for you. Are you going to have a chance to get to DevCon next month? Or
yes.
No?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
We'll be at DevCon. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, definitely if you see any of the rocket pullers, say hi to us there and introduce yourself. I got a feeling it might be a little crowded. We'll have a hard time finding each other, but it looks like it's going to be a really great event. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today's call and for us to learn a little bit more about Fluidkey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. And looking forward to seeing you at DevCon then.
Excellent. Well, you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the call or drop off if you like. But I see Langers has joined us. Good day to you, Langers.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a busy week in Rocket Pool land.
It's always a busy week, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw you had a busy week as well, and it looks like even next week's going to get busier for you.
Yeah. No, next week is going to be busy, exciting as well, which is cool. But it's definitely keeping us busy. But no, it's good. We're kind of like heads down a lot on Saturn 1, so that's going really well. So yeah, we're pretty happy how that's going so far.
Well, let's run through the bi-weekly here. Mav just put one out here and has a couple of things here. As always, I was kind of surprised this week. It said that protocol update over the last 2 weeks that the rETH supply declined a little bit over the 2 weeks by just a little bit more than 1%. And the mini pool count declined just a little bit, just shy of 1%. And I found that kind of fascinating because of node set launching, but maybe it's because all of the node set launch happens under one node operator. But I would have thought the mini pool count would have gone up by a couple hundred or so here. So I don't know if he's use the correct metric window here, or if maybe the node set ones aren't in there. But that was kind of a little shock to me to still see a decline number this week. I thought it would have trended positive for a little bit. Yeah,
same. I mean, we might still having a bit of a shakeout with kind of like 1KX as well, but same thing. That surprises me.
Yeah, I forgot about 1KX. So yeah, I probably will maybe neutralize each other here and then turn positive. But anyhow, that kind of an interesting notice that I caught just perusing this quickly here. But the next section talks about Smart Node, and this one there's been a lot on, right? We have there was no version 1.13.9. I forget the reason, but somehow we skipped that. We went to 10, and then just like clockwork, as soon as Fornax released 10, immediately Nethermind said, oh, hey, we've solved our memory leakage problem, and there's this rare bug that might happen if you block build locally. So everybody please go to version, Nethermind, if you're running that for your execution layer, go to version 1.29.1. And then right afterwards, or maybe it was last week, you were hinting that, there's a discrepancy with version 2, so we're still going to hang on to version 1. And then version 1, everybody started running into support saying the graffiti doesn't work anymore, and that's because we actually went to, I guess, an upgrade of .113 or .10 here, I guess it is. And that's just one more digit more than our graffiti can handle. So what's the latest with the smart node and Win v2 now?
So I put out a protocol update yesterday, and it goes into it a little bit there. I've kind of like hinted at it in the community calls as well. But so with V2, it's basically ready to go. Like it's feature parity. We've gone through and tested kind of comprehensive kind of test suite of tests against V2 to make sure that it does it works and it's compatible with V1 it's compatible with V1 or it's equivalent to V1, I should probably say. And so all of that's kind of done. The only issue we have found a discrepancy between the reward tree generations. It could have been like an infrastructure issue rather than a smart node issue, but we're kind of like playing it safe. And the problem that we've got at the moment is that we want to focus on Saturn 0. If we delivered V2, it would kind of like it would complicate the release of the V10 reward tree spec, because we would have to kind of like do it in two places, and then you've got like basically different permutations to worry about in terms of the testing and if things go wrong. So we're focusing on with patches. We're focusing on the V10 reward tree spec, and we're going to bump the V2 actual launch until after the V10 reward tree spec, because we just want to make sure that goes out. That's also got like a bit of a time element to it, so we're making sure that we're not kind of spinning our wheels on that as well. So unfortunately it's got a bit of a bump because of that. But basically, as soon as V10 is done, we can start. We've already kind of started doing it, but we can start doing essentially like a side-by-side comparison of the reward tree specs, reward trees for V1 and V2, and just make sure that's all working properly, and then we can fully migrate over to V2. We've kind of considered doing like a release candidate. Essentially meaning that node operators can upgrade, but the ODAL shouldn't. But we don't want to kind of like mix the messaging too much around that. And again, it just adds another kind of little bit of noise when we want to kind of like focus on Saturn 0.
Yeah, totally makes sense in terms of that priority there. So yeah, I fully agree. Let's use version 1, get us through the Houston hotfix, get us through the next version of the rewards tree algorithm, right? V10 of the rewards tree. And then that's a time to then figure out, okay, how do we reconcile V2 and then, make that switch. And I know to everyone working on V1, that's going to be well received, because then they're only going to have to support one client. Every time we hold on to V1 and V2, we're kind of having to do double work on the client side, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah, you've got to port it to both versions, and then you've got to test it. You got to test both versions, and then you've got to test them against each other, because obviously it's consensus, and not everyone might. Well, the ODAL will upgrade all in one reward period, but there's still like compatibility things. You've also got the fact that a lot of people build their own trees. So that was the other thing. We could have released like an RC, but then the people who are generating their own trees might have an issue. So we've decided to get away from that complexity or that noise, and just concentrate on Saturn 0.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's switch over to Saturn 0. I'm going to skip Saturn 1 that appears next in the bi-weekly update, but I'll go to the next entry, which is the Houston hotfix, or Saturn 0. tell us what is the latest. I saw a post by you yesterday. I got in the chat with Halilulu and Nashua, right? They were two sharp minds just going at it. Are we still on track to launch on Saturday? Give us the rundown. Tell us everything. Should I still keep Sunday afternoon free for me?
So I've got to catch up with the chat from last night, but just doing like a bit of a skim. They've kind of essentially not confirmed my numbers because it's just slightly off, but the numbers look secure for us to move forward. So that's all good. Just to get some context. So one of the things we found during development of the V10 spec is that we need to also change the balance submission, and this is like the rETH balance submission. So it's essentially the rETH rate calculator, and that's because it kind of estimates how much of the smoothing pool belongs to liquid stakers, and so that there's not any like big price movement at the end of the reward period. And we noticed that that's not we're not going to be able to update that until basically we release the reward period. So we were just making sure that was okay and there wasn't any side effects from that. And it doesn't look like it. There's very little chance of anything coming out of that. So that's what the guys were doing in terms of reviewing those numbers and just making sure that everything was fine. It does seem fine. The end of this week, I'm going to do a little bit more kind of like testing and make sure that I'm comfortable. But so far, it seems fine to me to kind of like proceed.
Yeah, perfect. And just a huge shout out to both Nashua and Halilulu for just jumping in there. And, you know, they're two of the sharpest minds we have here in the Discord. And by the time I woke up, I saw they were already in there dissecting and reconfirming your numbers and trying to ascertain, is this an issue or not an issue? And yeah, I think as you said it, I think it's not much of a risk that it should delay the launch of SAT0. And then I saw Oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I still need to go through some of the stuff that was said last night, but yeah, it just from scanning through it didn't seem too bad.
Yeah, I think they tore it apart in finite detail, figured out all the major factors to go, and I think I think it was something like we would need 25,000 nodes or something like that to launch during the reward generation period to cause any negative change in the rETH ratio. So hopefully I'm paraphrasing that correctly, but it sort of seemed like it was just a very extreme case that isn't worth much further thought on. And then I did see that the ODAO has that the contract SAT0 was voted on, passed, enacted, or the transaction was executed, and I guess now it is just waiting for deployment by the Guardian, and this might be one of the last actions the Guardian takes. Is this correct? Are we kind of all a go for launch on Sunday?
Yeah, it should be one of the last things that the Guardian does. Well, actually, sorry. No, actually, no. That's not strictly true. So, the Guardian actually doesn't really play much of a role in this, or technically, it's our deployer address rather than. I'm not sure if it's the same address. I don't think it's the same address. Anyway, I'll have to double check that. But we have a deployer account, and the deployer account will be the thing that actually initializes the upgrade. So that's actually what we'll do. So that that we'll be doing on Sunday night. Yeah, as I said, the Odo vote went well, and then Superfizz executed last night. It's all locked and loaded in terms of the upgrade contract is now a network contract, which means that it can perform the upgrade. The reason why we're kind of doing it on Monday instead of like right now is because we've got a reward period today, a reward day today. So we will get today's reward period done, and then we can execute it. And we want kind of like time to support the release. So that's why we tend to do it on a Monday. That's what's going to happen on Monday morning, our time.
Yeah, perfect. And if folks look in the event channel, it looks like ETH Staker is tradition is going to host a live stream, and I think we'll see two things on that live stream. We'll not only see the activation, I guess, of the deployment of the contract, right, and then we'll also see a short period of time, maybe a few minutes later, going in. And is this the role the Guardian does? Actually change the contract settings to enable the SAT0 settings?
Yes, so that will be Guardian. So that we'll execute the upgrade, and then we'll get both of them ready at the same time, basically. But we'll execute the upgrade, make sure that went through, and we'll verify that the contracts are updated and all that sort of thing. And then we will execute the parameter changes soon after.
And then at the end of the call, right, what will Rocket Pool node operators be able to do once SAT0 has been deployed and the new settings are in effect? Like what powers does that unlock?
So what it actually unlocks is, so if you're a new node operator, you will be able to stake. You'll be able to deposit ETH only mini pools, so without RPL stake, or at least RPL is an optional stake, I should say, rather than but RPL is an optional stake, and so you'll be able to deposit mini pools from there. You'll get a base commission of 5%. One thing that I'll kind of like say is you'll get that 5%. You actually get 10% once the reward tree is released. And that's ideally in the next reward period. We are working hard to do that, but I have kind of like highlighted the fact that there is a small amount of delivery risk there, so it could go on to the next one. That is incorporated in the RPIP, but I'm not sure whether it's widely known amongst everybody. But essentially, you'll get 5% base commission on mini pools, and then once the reward tree spec is in, you'll actually get 10% plus the however much on top for staking your RPL. I think there's a Saturn Zero explainer out there, which is actually very good. If you're an existing node operator, things don't change that much, apart from the fact that you can actually deposit ETH only. Well, I say ETH only. You can deposit new mini pools without additional RPL stake. So that's what you'll be able to do, kind of like going forward. Again, once the V10 reward tree spec comes in, you'll also get RPL rewards if you're because the cliff has been removed. You'll also get RPL rewards under the cliff as well. So that's another thing for existing node operators.
Yeah, for my notes too, I think those are the two biggest unlocks, right? Is that new mini pools, if people choose to do so, can form them without any RPL collateral, right? If you optionally add RPL collateral, you get a higher node commission. So, do your own research and math and figure out if that's a position you want to take, right? And for many of our node operators where their bonding level is below the 10% borrowed amount, they would become eligible because we removed the cliff, as you said. So it's really up to whenever the V10 reward spec is implemented. So I guess if I'm hearing you correctly, you and the team are trying to get that new node spec, reward spec, excuse me, implemented with the ODAO by the time that this next reward period is up. And then I guess if not, it does allow slippage, and we get a blame Patches if he doesn't get it done in time. Is that correct?
No, no. It's the you get to blame the whole team. Yeah, as I said, we are aiming for that reward period. He actually is making great progress. So he has kind of a lot of the actual code done. We need to work on this balance submission stuff, which we're kind of like working on as well. It just depends. It probably more depends on the testing effort rather than anything else. Because we need to go through. There's quite a lot. Like Patches has actually put in place like a really good testing framework. So we have quite a lot of confidence going into that we won't find any issues. But at the same time, there's a fair amount of kind of like testing that we want to do to make sure that it's solid. So we'll be doing that. We'll be doing kind of a mix of DevNet testing, testnet testing, and running it side by side with like the mainnet ones to make sure that things are working fine.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Any other things regarding Saturn Zero that you want to share with the community here?
No, I mean, like, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the kind of like parameters changes out, so that we can open up this new sort of era for Rocket Pool. I think, yeah, I mean, we're kind of like heads down trying to get everything ready, but it's definitely an exciting time for us going forward.
Okay, perfect. And then going back up one item on the biweekly here, you had put out an excellent, you called it a decomposition of what it's going to take here, right? So we're going to be through Saturn Zero by Sunday. Reward spec is priority afterwards before the team flies out to DevCon, get V10 in. Sometime launch V2 so you don't have to continue to support V1. Make it to DevCon, enjoy DevCon. And then I guess you've already been doing some work on Saturn 1, but now Saturn 1 is broken up into milestones. It's got a target date. Tell us everything you're thinking about on Saturn 1 right now. What's the latest?
Yeah, so in actual fact, so Patches is working on the reward tree spec, and so he's going to kind of continue working on it, even though the team itself will be in Bangkok, but Patches will be working on the reward tree spec. And actually, Fornax isn't going to Bangkok either, so he will be working with Patches on Saturn Zero, but he'll also be working on Saturn 1 smart node side of stuff. So so Kane has a lot of the contracts and their interfaces ready, and so he's doing an awful lot of unit testing and all that sort of stuff. There's the problem is you write a small amount of code and then you spend the rest of the time writing tests, but relatively speaking, so he's got a lot of the interfaces and everything ready. So he's pushing that branch. I think he was pushing it yesterday, but maybe he'll push it today. And then Fornax is going to work on the smart node side of things. And so that's going to be like the capacity in terms of that over the next couple of weeks. As you said, we'll be at DevCon for like I think it's 10 days or something like that, and then we come back and then we're back into Saturn, or Saturn 1, sorry. We should be releasing Saturn 0 at that point, and then continuing on with Saturn 1. So with Saturn 1, not long after we get back from a few weeks, I think it is, like 2 weeks ish, after we get back from DevCon, the first DevNet is kind of like scheduled. So we'll work hard to get to that point. I think when we get back from DevCon, I'm hoping that we can start kind of like testing out the smart node elements to make sure that those bits kind of like work. And then we can deploy it to a DevNet. The DevNets are not like our current testnet, in the sense that you should expect things to break. It is, it's very early stage code. So if people are going to join us with testing, expect it to kind of like break. But that's what we'll be doing in terms of testing it. So yeah, and then we'll kind of refine that ideally, and then before Christmas, and be working on Saturn, or the next DevNet release, essentially. So yeah, no, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to. Things are starting to kind of come together in terms of Saturn 1, so that's given us quite a great deal of confidence with that side of things.
Excellent. And I very much really enjoyed kind of that decomposition and milestone timeline. I think that's really going to help, those of us that like to, armchair quarterback here, kind of track along and follow the progress. And I think it looks pretty good. And it's exciting to see that you're perhaps even starting it a little bit earlier than the January 1 timeframe. So that's excellent news.
Actually, so we'll try and get it as early as possible. I've said January because I know that stuff comes up, and I also don't. I never put deadlines. So there's a habit of IT managers making deadlines on the 23rd of December, and that's never a good thing. So I've said it's in January. But we're kind of trying to aim as much as we can before Christmas.
Yeah, perfect. Anything else on Saturn 1 that you want to share with the community? We're kind of bouncing stuff off the. So there's a whole bunch of things that I've raised. Some are like not really non-issues, but I think it's good for just to get the information out there in terms of some limitations and that sort of thing. But I've raised some things on the DAO, and we've been discussing some stuff in the threads. Just kind of like working through these little kind of like edge cases that we find, or things that we may need to adjust from a governance perspective. So that's going well. I'm enjoying that. So we'll continue to kind of do that as we work through Saturn 1, because there's always stuff that comes up that you don't expect, or things that you need to change, or decisions that need to be made. So we're making sure that we're engaging the community along the way for as much as we can for those. Yeah, perfect. Jasper's asking a question in here, which is any legal update?
No, we've engaged actually some of this stuff I've already said to the GMC, but we have engaged with a law firm. So finding a law firm was very, very difficult, because to find one that is the level of counsel that you need and with the experience that you need is very hard. We've managed to find an excellent legal counsel, to the point where we've spoken to a lot of like the lobbying groups. I don't know whether they call themselves lobbying groups. I think they call themselves education groups, and a lot of them point to this firm. So they're very, very good. So we are kind of in the process of engaging them. We're putting together like a brief to go through essentially the tokenomics proposals. I think the explainers and that sort of thing are really helpful, but we need to basically take that, bundle it up, and then take them to them. They are very, very experienced, so they've kind of been essentially writing like policy or submissions to the courts for this stuff anyway. So they have a lot of background knowledge. So we won't necessarily need to educate them, but we will need to educate them specifically in terms of general. But we will need to educate them in terms of specifically for Rocket Pool. So that's pretty cool as well. And we can we're kind of like pushing that forward. I've also spoken. The reason why the GMC know is one. We're kind of like talking to the GMC about how and whether we do some sort of like split between the costs, because it obviously affects the PTY or the lab company, the development company, and the protocol. So we're kind of like talking about that. How that will split, I don't know, but we're just kind of like raising that as a thing.
Yeah, perfect. And from my recollection of the GMC conversations, there was strong support to, invest in this as part of the GMC initiative, because getting clear, regulatorily compliant, or as much as that can be for as many jurisdictions as possible, model to the new tokenomics model, where where we return some value to the RPL token, I think would be excellent and very well received. Okay, the next section in the biweekly update here was governance. A few things here. Mav's not going to join in here, so I'll just cover some of the highlights. One big highlight is that there is a live vote here for RPIP 37, which is the renewal of the protocol funding, right? The DAO here helps support the team by giving them funding and improving funding. So definitely take a look at that. If you like the size and scope of the team and the effort they're doing, vote for that. So definitely take a look at that. The IMC released its budget and report. There is a link to it in the biweekly, and one I guess community call for input here is a new initiative from the GMC called the rETH Growth Incubator. This is based off of the very popular tokenomics incubator, where we realized, hey, we need to make some changes to the tokenomics model here. We thought, well, let's just ask the very smart people in the community, and kind of created a little bit of a small incentive program for people to just brainstorm or spitball a whole bunch of ideas up. So there's a DAO forum post in there that is asking folks to think about what Rocket Pool should be doing to enhance or encourage the growth of rETH. And the reason this is very important is we expect a little bit under Saturn 0, maybe a little bit more under Saturn 0, but definitely under Saturn 1, where the bond is reduced, and we get the mega pool design in Saturn 1, that we're not going to be node operator limited, meaning we've got to have plenty of node operators who have, with the existing capital that they have now on their nodes, can launch a tremendous amount of validators. And, we're going to go into feeding frenzy, kind of what like NodeSet is experiencing at the moment. And basically what is going to limit the growth of the Rocket Pool protocol is really going to be the amount of people that deposit or swap ETH for the rETH, our liquid staking token product. And so we're really trying to think ahead, and we're encouraging folks to contribute ideas that the PDAO should be taking, or the DAO should be taking, in terms of supporting and developing initiatives to encourage our ETH growth. So if you have ideas and you'd like to share them with the community, please see the forum post and share your ideas there. There is no such thing as a bad idea. We're looking for as many feasible ideas at the moment to kind of just start that whiteboard brainstorming effect. Langers, while I was kind of giving that update, I see there is a post in here from Jasper again about two things. I guess the first question that Jasper has is the Twitter account. I know this has been a topic of many of us here. We're demanding now, when Twitter? Any update on that?
So we're still progressing with getting the old one back, but we've created a new one, and Mav is working on essentially some initial posts and that sort of thing to kind of like get that started. So we have a new Twitter. We'll send that around. Mav, I didn't want to kind of like do it before Mav was ready, but Mav will send out the new handle and that sort of thing, so you guys can kind of like follow. Yeah, I think he's got like a bit of a content calendar for how to kind of get that established. So that's working at the moment. We were giving another contact in terms of at Twitter, so we've reached out. We don't have awful lot of hope, but we have another contact at Twitter, so we've reached out in terms of the old one, and we'll see where that goes.
That's just absolutely great news. I was kind of thinking, like, why not both? It's going to be great to have the new Twitter handle up and operational for Saturn Zero. I can't wait to find out what it is and subscribe to it and start pinging it. I really think the community can get its subscription numbers up, really fast and make a lot of news on it. And if you happen to still have success in recovering the old account, so be it. Protocol's got 2 Twitter handles. I think that's great. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, I think Mav is as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, Mav, as soon as you send that out, we just like be all over it. I can't believe he's been that cold turkey on Twitter for so long. I don't know if I could do that, right? I would feel lost. Jasper's also asking about the landing page for ETH only. Any updates? Are we good to go? What are kind of the team's thoughts about doing something for a landing page for ETH only mini pool formation?
So Nick's been working on that the last week. He's got some. He's created like a landing page with like essentially the top line items for Saturn Zero, and like an FAQ type section, or at least that's what it looked like when I first saw it. And then he's been kind of like working with the community around feedback on that. I think it's in like website feedback. I think in the website feedback thread. So he's been working with the community on that. So yes, we do have a landing page. Is the answer. And we just need to kind of refine that and get that ready. But it's there and it's live. It's just the fact that we're kind of iterating on it to get it better.
Yeah, perfect. And I see Nick has posted a link to it in the trading channel right now as we're kind of live streaming this chit chat call here. So I understand it's already front face. I mean, it's up there. Maybe it's not highly promoted, but it's certainly going to be ready live and up there for node operators coming in after Saturn Zero launches on the live stream, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, perfect. And then shout out to T-Pan, Val, and Samus, who all 3 have been working on the docs as well too, because I forget that our node operator guide probably has some editing to do in there, right? I always forget we got to go.
Yeah, that's it. That's a very underrated kind of shout out. It's the docs are extremely important. So definitely a big thank you to those guys for helping out in that area.
Yeah, perfect. And then other items from the bi-weekly here was a number of entries in there about Gravita, the successful launch of XRETH, which is operated by NodeSet, right? This is Gravita's fully commission free liquid staking token that's built on top of Rocket Pool. Kind of, people have been calling it a layer 2 on top of Rocket Pool. I think that's a pretty good description of it. I know many members here in the community are operators for NodeSet, and that launch I think has gone very successful. I saw a post here that they had I think 10 million in TVL here, and it's, I don't even think, been a week or just about a week since their launch. So very, very successful launch, I think. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, we as a team deposited some RPL into NodeSet as well. It's kind of like a small amount at the moment, but we will kind of increase our position kind of over time. But yeah, it's definitely an exciting launch, and it's definitely causing a lot of buzz in the community, which is awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. No, every little bit helps in there, and it'd be interesting to kind of ping back into their server and see what the latest is. Now, I think they've been able to successfully stake all of the RPL, and they have a little bit of ETH in the deposit pools. I think they're looking for more RPL and trying to search all the couch cushions for them. So, yeah, definitely look at that if you have some unstaked RPL and want to return a reward on it. Could be a good opportunity here. In the bi-weekly update here, I haven't had a chance to look at this one, but I guess there's Archive published a thread highlighting their 500-day experience, or the historical performance of, I guess, a $10 million rETH position that they have. I haven't had a chance to click through that. For some reason, it didn't hyperlink in the Medium article. I don't know, Mav, if you're listening, as to why the hyperlink wasn't there, but maybe the text is there. I can just manually type that in and go read that. But I haven't had a chance to read it yet to see what they said on the return. But knowing the RPL rate, it should have been up and to the right. So hopefully that's what their experience showed. And then next up here, there's 2 entries about Thailand here. And so I don't know, Langers, you kind of hinted at it, but maybe walk me through it here a little bit. You're going to be at Staking Rewards Summit. That's actually turning out to be a very, very popular pre-event, I guess, to DevCon. I see that Vitalik's going to be one of the keynotes there, and then DevCon for all 4 days. And supposedly Mav is hinting that we might do a Rocket Pool meetup. I don't know who you talks to. Talking to Mav, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but everybody else in the community's thinking there's going to be a banger of a meetup somewhere. What's the true story there?
Yes, there will be a meetup. We're just getting some feedback on dates in the conferences thread, and once we find a spot that suits everyone, we'll sort something out. We just want to deconflict with not only DevCon, but there does seem to be an increasing number of side events, even though, as I understand it, historically the whole point of DevCon was to focus on the event itself. I think some people are trying to respect that as much as possible and put their side events kind of either side or in the evenings. So as much as possible, we want to optimize for as many people joining from the community, and then from us, the team, as we head off to not only DevCon but the different side events. We do already have a couple of speaking opportunities at side events, so it's kind of coming together pretty last minute, but it looks like, based on the reactions in the thread, that it would be the Friday, which is the last day of DevCon. So yeah, if you're heading over to Thailand, watch this space. I'm hoping we'll be able to announce that before the next community call. There's a few things that I need to get an announcement out about, including the Twitter account. Yeah, as Langers said, we've got a kind of last chance contact at Twitter. I pinged off an email to them a couple of days ago, and yeah, if no luck there, we're going to go full steam ahead with the new account. So a few things coming together. Watch out for a very big ping in the protocol announcements channel, hopefully within the next couple of days.
Yeah, fingers crossed you still get the old account back, but I'm excited to have the new account, and I think it's just going to be great to be able to interact with the protocol on Twitter again. So that's excellent. And then I guess, go ahead.
A quick question.
Yeah.
I was just lazy to tag. Figured I'd just hop in, Is there going to be any change in how the team approaches the Twitter account? For example, in the past, we used to be fairly conservative about when we would do tweets and partnership posts, and I'm wondering what the philosophy will be.
We have some limitation on. It's mainly like local regulatory environment on what we can post. We could probably be a little bit slightly less conservative, but we have to be very careful. Like, I know it seems ridiculous, but we have to be very careful about inciting people to buy rETH. So that's the and I know that's like a ridiculous thing, but kind of where we're at with the regulatory landscape. So that's why we have to be a little bit kind of conservative in that channel. But we could probably be slightly less conservative if it doesn't go in that direction, if you know what I mean. So we have to kind of like take it on a case by case basis, but we'll try to be a little bit less conservative than we were before.
Thank you for the answer.
Also, one thing to note on that is, especially if we do end up having a single new account, there would need to be a little bit of work put in to get the follower number up and get some kind of initial engagement on that. So we'll definitely be working with some of the quote unquote partners. Obviously we're not using that word, to run some co-marketing. Obviously that means us helping them out potentially, but within kind of the bounds that Langers mentioned. Arguably a little bit of scope to do a bit more, but I don't see us getting to the point that you see with a lot of other smaller projects and protocols where they're kind of happy to retweet or kind of implicitly support or even use the P partner word for say a brand new DeFi opportunity that's just launched, which could be very valuable and could end up being a very viable protocol, but early on the kind of risk profile for us in terms of the risk versus the reward of that kind of activity is not really there. So I guess at the end of the day, the main thing will be good just to get back on Twitter and helping to get the word out.
I mean, one of the things that we've kind of like stuck to is concentrating on the protocol and like the news around the protocol. So that's what we can definitely do in terms of the Twitter posts that we do. One thing that we could probably open up a little bit more is highlighting or kind of like retweeting stuff that other people have said is going on in the ecosystem, if you know what I mean, which opens it up for you, Jasper, obviously. But that might be something that could help as well. So that news still goes through the main channel, but it's not the team directly saying it, it's coming out from the community and all that sort of thing. So that could be one way of kind of like doing it. But yeah, so we'll kind of like find some options.
One other thing is that I'm keen to do, and this will come out in this announcement, is to kind of put out an open call to anyone who's working on anything in the Rocket Pool ecosystem to kind of collaborate a little bit on getting the word out on Twitter. Initially IMC, GMC initiatives and the like make sense, but anyone who's kind of building anything that contributes in some way, potentially would be good to coordinate something there. And again, watch this space. Hopefully just a couple of days from now we will have that big announcement out.
Well, I'm super excited about that. And then kind of the last thing I see in the biweekly here, Jasper, if you're still on, they'd mentioned that you joined a next space to talk about solo staking. Do you have a second just to kind of explain what that was and how people can go listen to that space?
Yeah, sure. So I got into some conversations on Twitter about solo stakers and bandwidth requirements during the Max Resnick fiasco. And in that process, the CEO of Spire Labs, which is a base rollup, DM'd me and was like, hey, I want to talk about solo stakers and all these issues, essentially. So we had a fantastic conversation talking about scaling Ethereum and how that impacts solo stakers. We talked about ePBS, the current landscape, blob gas, Max Resnick, Braid, multiple concurrent proposers. It was really thorough and obviously not entry level, but I think everyone here listening to this would be fine. You can find it on their profile, which is, I believe, at mteam is loading. Or search Spire.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I see that there's a link to it. This one is hyperlinked in the this week's bi-weekly update, and I think it will take it there. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I had a chance to meet Max at Permissionless maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, in Utah. That's the Bankless conference, and it's really good. I think he does bring up some really good points. Maybe I might have raised them in a slightly different approach than what he had used, but it is interesting in terms of what can we do to help the layer one scale a little bit that doesn't preclude or impact the solo stakers, right? And it's still even a little bit unclear to me what changes and what are the limitations of solo stakers. I've been reading and really much enjoying Vitalik's now 4-part post on kind of the roadmap and challenges ahead for Ethereum, and I'm really excited about DevCon. I'm kind of hoping this whole conversation about prioritization and scaling and roadmap and being able to increase the delivery rate continues on in DevCon, and I think there's going to be some really fascinating conversations there. But yeah, Jasper, I'll have to go back and listen to that because I don't think I've seen quite a more engaging kind of topic and conversation. Everybody seems to have a point or opinion in there, and so a lot of, in a good way, a lot of constructed but heated debate on this thing, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens and what's kind of included in the roadmap and kind of what happens in the next hard fork here, Petra. Mav, Langers, Jasper, anything else that we haven't covered yet on today's call that you want to share, or should we close it out?
I didn't answer your question about the presentation or kind of speaking thing at in Bangkok. So I'm speaking at the Staking Summit. And that will be all about Saturn 0, Saturn 1, Saturn 2. So that's going to be exciting. So we'll be, kind of presenting that to the world. So that's a big thing. We're kind of also involved in like the ETH Staker node operator workshop for DevCon. We're kind of playing a small part in that. So that's kind of what's happening over that time. And then some side event stuff, which are kind of still being locked down.
Yeah, there was one question I did see in the DevCon channel. Maybe it was Kevster that asked it. I'm sorry, I'm not in that channel right now. I can't recall, but they asked, does the team need any help in facilitating that in-person workshop? And if so, how can members of the community that are there help?
Yeah, I'll definitely work through Mav to kind of like sort that out. I think at the moment we do like and we're still trying to figure it out, but I think we do like a little presentation on Rocket Pool and what makes us different to node operators. I think that's the deal, but I'll find out and we'll go from there.
Yeah, perfect. And if it helps, ours was a little bit more hands-on, like from bare metal to staking. But a number of us in the community put something together for ETH Denver. I could share those slides if that's helpful. But if it's just why choose Rocket Pool over other, other solo staking protocols or less than 32 ETH protocols, may not be aligned with that. But be glad to share with you what we put together previously.
Yeah, I believe ETH Stake are actually running the workshop, and then we do the why choose Rocket Pool bit. But I'll double check with Mav, and if that's useful to us, then that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to share in there. I know everyone's looking forward to that. Anything else from anyone else before we call it a day?
Only thing for me is next week's call is queued up, so come along to that one. And we've already mentioned about ETH Staker before that on the Monday morning or Sunday for potentially most of the audience. See you there.
All right, perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend an hour with the team. It always seems like we'll say we'll do a quick one of these things, and it's been actually an hour and 15 minutes on today's call. Sorry that it kind of went a little long here, but lots of good stuff, lots of happening. And I, for one, am super pumped about Saturn Zero. Can't wait for Sunday to roll around and be here and trading with everyone to watch the launch of that. So congratulations to the team to getting us this part, and I'm looking forward to it. With that, we'll see you all Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on the part of the world that you're in.
Thanks, everybody. Great chatting.
Thanks, guys.